I know. Because we were going to go to iPadOS and then wrap things up. Good job, Jeff.
Thanks.
That was pretty good. Sweet.
And we're back because we don't know what we're doing. So now, sorry, Dave, our producer. He doesn't know what he's doing. So the stream cut out. I don't know where it cut out, but I think we were wrapping up SwiftUI. Now, I mentioned this during the intro of the topic, WWDC, as something new announced. And this one I think is really exciting and interesting. Admittedly, I'm a little confused by it, but iPadOS.
Yes. So over the years, iPads and iPhones have kind of started to diverge in what you can do with them. The iPad supports lots of multitasking. It has hardware keyboards that don't use Bluetooth. And the use cases for the iPad and the iPhone really have become their own things. So much so that now Apple is actually splitting the iPad into its own operating system. Really, iPadOS right now is a lot like iOS. There are very few features that you can get on the iPad that you can't get on the iPhone. But the ones that are there are those more power user features that make the iPad more like a computer. For instance, there's this new sidecar feature where if you have a Mac running macOS Catalina and you have an iPad that's running iPadOS 13, you can put an app from your Mac onto your iPad screen.
So have you used this yet? Because I've had Duet, and there's a couple other ones that can do that, and then all of a sudden my computer and my iPad are getting ready to melt down.
Right.
Does this not do that? I'd like to know that. That'd be great.
So, like you mentioned earlier, you should never run a beta on
fair
primary
enough.
OS.
Yeah,
and so I haven't actually run it myself. I would expect, though, because it's Apple, because it's a first-party solution, that they are going to have a better solution in terms of performance. But also, I've used things like Duet Display, and I think it's another one that I had, and they're okay. But I'm hoping for the sidecar features latency to be low enough to actually use it, for real-time applications.
Sure. So hit me with some other top iPad OS. Like what are the couple big things that make it just way different than iOS for iPhone?
Sure. So ever since the first iPhone, the paradigm for using an app on your phone has been you have one app open, okay, and then when the iPad multitasking showed up with split screen, you could have two apps. You could have three apps open at the same time.
Sure.
But one of the limitations has always been that each app has its own space, its own window. And now with iPadOS, you can have multiple instances of the same application in different parts of the OS. So you can have side by side two Microsoft Word documents. You can have a note and then another note next to it.
Okay.
And you can set this up almost like Spaces on the Mac, where you could have a Word document and a website in Safari open next to each other, and then use a multitasking gesture to get over to a different Word document and a different website.
Wow.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
It does bring it closer to the desktop experience that we've all been accustomed to. Like when I'm on Safari, I don't actually use Safari. I use Chrome. But when I'm on Chrome, I've got crazy amount of tabs. Same thing if any other tool that I'm using. So,
well, like even students writing a paper, you have two Word documents sometimes because you read in a paper and then you write in your paper.
Oh, that's a good student.
Yeah.
That's not me.
Honest student.
Yeah, you can have an outline over here and your main document over here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good use case.
One of the things I saw in there was the widgets.
Yes.
That I think are terrible. They seem to be on the main screen now. Does that mean they actually have data?
It should. So one of the big problems with the home screen widgets of iOS in the past has been that they don't actually start loading until you swipe over to get to that screen.
Yes, worst thing ever.
By being able to pin them on your first home screen and have them always open, ideally they should always be reloading. So they should always have data and actually be more useful.
That will be fantastic and a welcome addition because Android seems to get that right, and I'm not sure how iOS does not.
Yes.
From a development point of view, are there, like if you have an app, like an iPad app, are there things you have to do right now to get ready for iPadOS in terms of widgets and all that stuff?
Not in terms of widgets. So widgets have been optional the whole time they've existed. They still are. But you do now have to support more of the multitasking. If you don't support edge-to-edge displays on the iPad Pro, if you don't support some of the multitasking features, then you'll get rejected.
Anything else on iPadOS?
I think that's it.
That's it. All right. Well, Jeff, thank you for coming on to our very first show. As I mentioned to Chelsey, you are now part of history.
Thanks for having
me. Good or bad. All right. Thank you. Now, we are going to wrap this show up for a number of reasons. It ended up being 38 minutes, probably really like 32 minutes with all the technical difficulties with the stream stopping. And I'm not even certain if we're still live right now. But
we're live.
Okay, Dave says we are.
Hi,
thanks.
Hi, everyone.
So thank you for everyone who tuned in and watched us today. It was fantastic. It was fun learning how to do this. In a couple of weeks, we'll be back with another episode, hopefully, as long as we remember how to set all this stuff up again. And we will get better on things like echo, things like microphones working, and things like streams cutting out after 30 minutes. We will get there. Thank you for tuning in. Take a minute to hit subscribe on the channel. Hit the bell icon to be notified. The great thing is, even though this is live, you may have missed it live. It will be recorded and up on the YouTube channel for you to watch at your leisure.
Yeah, I'll be watching it tonight.
You're going to watch yourself?
I will try.
You could take notes?
That's how you learn.
That's a fair point. Let me know how the overall show was.
I'll text you.
You're going to want to give feedback to Dave, though. So since it is our first show, I have to give a thank you to everyone who helped out: Dave, Jacqueline, Corey, Elise, Billy, Tobi, Jeff, Chelsey. I don't know if I've missed anybody. If I did, thank you, everybody. That was awesome. That was fun. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks. Bye.
Sweet.